Lieutenant Colonel Stephen Boyd, instructor of the Patrick Henry, running the show, the Junior ROTC. I appreciate your time, sir.
Absolutely.
I got to ask you, first year you started doing this, when was that, and how'd you get involved with it?
Well, my first year here was the fall of 2003. I finished up an Air Force career of 21 years. And one of the jobs I had in the Air Force, I got introduced to this Junior LTC program, and I absolutely loved it. And I said, when I retire, this is what I want to do. And I came in here the fall of 2003, and it's really interesting because when I got here, I started talking to my students about coming here, and one of them literally said that I was crazy for coming here because I walked away from the Air Force. I had a six-figure job, and I came here, took a 50% pay cut. But I told them, I said, you know why I'm here? You. That's why I'm here. Here to support you.
So talk a little bit, I want to jump into more your military career. What made you want to join the Air Force? Because you had a 21-year career. What year did you join the Air Force?
It's actually a really incredible story. I was a senior in high school. My mom was dating a guy who was in the Air Force. He was an Air Force lieutenant colonel. And they weren't married yet. They eventually got married. And he sat down with me one day and he started talking to me about, what are you going to do 5 years from now? What are you going to do 10 years from now? And so on. I asked my students the same question. And you know what I discovered? I didn't know what I was going to be doing. So he took the time and he gave me like his ideas, his plan for it, which was, why don't you go to college? Why don't you take ROTC while you're in college and go into the Air Force like I did? And he said, I remember these words succinctly, he says, you're never going to be a millionaire, but they're going to take care of you. And I did exactly what he suggested, and thank goodness he did that because my career turned out great. I worked for incredible people. It was a fantastic career. And then I would have never found out about this program if it hadn't have been for that. And he commissioned me into the Air Force, my stepfather, and then he retired me 21 years later.
Wow, so when you look at those experiences, what was the biggest experience or something that you took out of your military career that you are applying to your students with Junior ROTC?
I think I probably lacked in self-confidence like a lot of them did when I first went in. And what I basically did was said, I'm going to try to do the best I can every day. I'm going to try to do my job the best I can, and I want to take care of the people around me. And that's what I try to tell these guys is do the best that you can every day. Don't expect perfection, and take care of your people, whether they work for you or you work for them. And that was probably the biggest lesson I got out of the military that I've tried to apply here.
What was your job when you were in the Air Force?
A couple of interesting ones. My first job was I was a missile launch officer. And out in the Midwest, there's all these intercontinental ballistic missiles underground. And my first job was I used to pull alert every 3 or 4 days, sit underground for a 24-hour alert shift, and did it very well. The second half of my career was a space guy. So, when you see rockets take off and they put satellites up in space, that's what I used to do for a living. I used to put satellites up in space.
That's pretty neat. So you get here, it's 2003. And now we're in 2022, so you're entering your 20th year or going into your 20th year, if I'm not mistaken.
In the 20th year.
In the 20th year. How has the program changed from when you got here to where it is today?
Wow, night and day. When I got here, I had 134 cadets. I had one student that was passing all their classes, which was ashamed. And I said, I'm going to start stressing academics when I get here. And we have an honor society now in our program, and it's not unusual that in a given eligibility period, 20 to 25 of my students will have an A in here and be on AB honor roll. I have a number of students who have straight A's. That was a dream 20 years ago, and just kind of creating a program where academics was stressed at every turn has really paid off because the students bought into it. They want to do things in this program, and they realize if I don't keep my grades up, I'm going to miss out on some great opportunities. So that part's probably the one I'm the most pleased about.
And then when you look at it, and I heard Daniel said, now are you retiring soon? Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, I was going to retire after 10 years, but I really loved what I was doing. They actually paid me to do it, which I thought was great. And my kids were in school, and I thought, hey, I'll retire when they graduate from college, and it didn't work out that way. My students, I hear the same thing every year, stay till I graduate, stay till I graduate. And about 2 or 3 years ago, I said, 65 is not too far away. I'll have 21 years here, 21 years in the Air Force. Imagine wearing a uniform for 42 years. I never thought that would ever happen. And I've actually loved every minute of it. There's stressful days, there's frustrating days, but I think the reward of seeing my students go off and do great things far overshadows that. So
I want to make sure. So you're going to retire after this school year?
Yes, I'm going to. This is my 20th year.
Right, so you want to get to
I'm going to
21.
come back next year because I turned 65 in 2024, and 2 months later I'm eligible to retire. So the timing worked out great. Do I really want to retire? No. But when I got here 21 years ago, I was 44, and I was able to keep up with these young students, and it's getting harder and harder every year.
What is the biggest thing that you've probably learned about yourself while you are, running this program?
Wow. I think realizing that I'm not the only one that has all the answers. There's a lot of smart people around me, and that it's great to throw something out there and hope that you'll get inputs from everybody, and then the end result is a lot better than it would have been if it had just been my opinion. So that's probably the biggest thing, is use the team around you. One of the quotes that I share with them is, and I think it's from, I'm trying to think, I can't even remember his name now, but the quote says, if everybody in the room isn't, God, I can't even remember what the quote is now. Amazing.
That's okay. Well, let me add, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I've got it. It says, if everybody in the room is thinking the same, most of them are not thinking. Because a lot of people hear somebody else say something and they just jump right on it. They're afraid to voice their opinion. And I'm like, every opinion's important. So, and I'm trying to think, George Patton, General George Patton, that was one of his quotes. And I quote him a lot in my class, so he's a pretty insightful guy.
So, I guess the biggest thing is, and obviously this class is unlike any other class in this building, because
Absolutely.
obviously there's not that the other classes don't have the structure and leadership, but one thing is, being a military guy myself, is like Aretha Franklin, you got to have respect. You have to respect that. Just talk about the value of respect, because you're, from just looking at your students, there's a respect for you, and obviously you have to earn that, but just talk about how important it is to have that.
Well, funny you should mention that. Two of my big mantras are mutual respect and good manners. I learned them from my mom. And and the students will tell you there's a briefing we give every day, and they talk about those two qualities in the briefing. And I just kind of figure if they keep hearing about it, hopefully they'll do that. That's one of the things that I see them struggling with, is respecting each other as young adults, respecting their elders, respecting all the people around them. And I really respect it at every turn. But the one thing that I always kind of keep in the back of my mind is, it's one thing to say it, but also demonstrate it. And I try to demonstrate that myself every day. I try to respect these folks. My standards are high. I want the best out of them. I'm not settling for anything less. But at the end of the day, I respect them, no matter whether we've had an argument or everything went great. I'm always going to respect them. So I think that's probably the number one quality. And just, the good manners, and treat other people the way you want to be treated.
I do notice, obviously, there's PT, but what are some of the other things that go into this course?
Man, this is going to be longer than this thing is.
That's okay.
Physical training, because we want to introduce them to a healthy lifestyle. The mission statement says, develop citizens of character dedicated to serving their nation and community. So half of that mission statement is hopefully making them better than what they think they aren't. I've had great students over the years, and it's really great to see them come in as a ninth grader, not believe in themselves, but then leave as a senior and see that transformation, that they really believe in themselves and they go off and do great things. And we do so much community service in here. I think it's important to go out in the community. We just recently provided road marshals from the Drumstick Dash. In a couple of weeks, we're going to be helping with the Toys for Tots program downtown. And like I said, I can't think of anything better for my folks to do. And that's why I keep coming back every year. The face has changed, but the excitement's kind of still there. And ultimately, they go off and do. It's great to hear some of my students doing such good things out in the community.
How often do you hear from your former students?
You'd be amazed. Not all of them, they all have their lives that they're living, and I kind of understand that they've all moved on, but it's kind of neat I'll be walking with my students in a parade, and I'll hear Colonel Boyd, during the parade, and I'll look over, and I've literally seen students I've had years earlier with their spouse, their little kids, and that's when it's really cool, is when you see them so many years later. I'll be watching the news, and I'll hear about one of my folks that's doing something really great in the community, or I'll read about them in the local paper, or on my phone I'll see something that's happened, and that's when it's really rewarding. I really get disheartened when bad choices are made and bad things happen. And unfortunately, I've lost some students. They've passed away since I've been here. The one cool thing about being here for 20 years is I actually have a young lady in my program right now whose mother was in my program my first year. She was one of my students, so that's kind of cool to have that happen. That told me it was probably time to retire when I'm getting the second generation.
I gotta ask you this. You said you're gonna retire from this next school year.
Yep.
As far as legacy, the Lieutenant Colonel Stephen Boyd legacy for the Patrick Henry Air Force Junior ROTC program, what would you like to have as your legacy of this program?
That I left it better than I found it. That's all I want to do. When I got here, this program wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, and one of the best moves I made was ended my second year when I hired my partner, Sergeant Mills, because he was a young guy just like me, and we had the energy to do the things that were necessary to get the students excited about our program and take it to a different level, and that's where we are right now. We've been a distinguished unit for like the last 12 years. And when we got our first one 12 years ago, it had been like 20 or 30 years since we'd gotten any recognition. That's rewarding because the students do it, and I really feel good for them. So that's probably the best thing to get out of it, is just, I think I've left it better than I found it. And and I know it'll be hard to leave, but I just think at some point it's time to move on and let somebody else come in here and pick up the baton and keep running with it.
That is neat. You retire from the Air Force, 21 years, you're going to retire from this 21.
Yep.
That's perfect symmetry.
Absolutely. 42 years in a uniform, I never thought I'd say that, but I really love wearing an Air Force uniform. The best part is I don't have to figure out what to wear in the morning. That's what I always liked about it. And one day I'm going to wear it for the last time. It'll be really sad. So, but I'm going to enjoy this as long as I'm able to. And and again, I'm proud to have had the opportunity to serve my country. I served it the best I could, and hopefully, I'm doing my best I can here. And and I see some of the results. And most of them are very positive. And again, it's about the students transforming into something that just makes us all so proud. And they go out and do great things, and I just absolutely love that part of it. And I'm going to continue to do it for 1.5 more years.
Spell your first and last name.
Daniel Alonzo, DANIEL ALONZO.
And Daniel, you're a senior, right?
Yes, sir, I am.
First question is, what made you want to be a part of the Junior ROTC?
The family, my brother was actually in ROTC, which he inspired me to, join it. And it's like a family to me. I've been in it for 4 years now. It's my last year, unfortunately. But it's just, we have the Raider team. That's really drawn my eyes to ROTC. We have the color guards. I love doing color guards. And same thing with like armed and unarmed drill teams.
Talk about your growth in this from your freshman year to now.
Okay, so freshman year, I came in here not knowing how to do anything. From when it came to left flank, right flank, and about face, I had no idea how to do it. But being in here taught me, one, how to lead a group, especially now since I'm on the group staff this year. And two, I just saw myself grow on my communication skills and how I work with other people, which will lead in, after life, after I get out of high school.
I guess the biggest question is military background. You said you had a brother that did this, but any other family members that maybe they have a military background?
Oh yes, I actually have the brother that inspired me to come into ROTC. He's in the military. He's in the Army right now, and I have a brother that's in the Air Force, and my dad was actually in the Army as well.
Is this something you want to do? You want to join too?
It's something I'm definitely thinking about. It's probably going to be my second option. I want to try doing stuff before I actually commit to going in the military. But if I do go in the military, I'm going to do it till I retire.
Colonel Boyd, from your perspective, what does he mean to you, and what do you feel he means to this program?
I think he means a great choice. He's been here for a long time. He's about to retire, and I feel like everybody that's came through here, he's actually had an impact on their life somehow. Mine is obviously going to be different from other people. It's honestly just how you look at it, to be honest.
Okay. Could we do that part again? Sorry. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's-
oh, yeah.
Can't have that in. Yeah, just do that again.
Okay.
Sorry.
Wait, what, can you say that?
Oh,
question?
just, the impact that Colonel Boyd has had on you and this program.
Oh yeah, my impact on Colonel Boyd, he's been there for me whenever I needed him to be. And my impact obviously going to be different from others. And it's just honestly how you look at it. And this program is what you put into it, honestly.
You talk about Colonel Boyd, just the impact and seeing what he does. It just seems like it's smooth. I mean, you guys pretty much, obviously I'm a military guy, and obviously there's got to be a regimen and discipline. Talk about just the importance of discipline you have to be in the Air Force Junior ROTC at Patrick Henry.
Yeah, they put a lot of responsibility on us. Our grades are solely on us, especially when it comes to uniform, and how our uniform is pretty much 90% of our grade. So he holds us to a higher standard to make sure that our hair is cut, or we ain't wearing any bracelets or anything like that. And it's just something that we need to take accountable in outside of high school.
How much fun is it to do this?
Oh, it's a lot of fun. We get to do drumstick dash. We actually did that. It's volunteer. You get to get involved with the community, which is a big thing. It's good on a resume. We did the Salem Half Marathon. It's just a lot of fun. There's a lot that goes into this that we honestly don't advertise enough.
Again, I think I asked this question, but I want to make sure I have this right. If there's one thing you could take from this experience, one thing you've learned from this, what is that and why?
It's communication skills and just working together as a team, especially with the group staff. It's 5 of us this year, and all of us are in charge of a total of 74 cadets. And it's obviously a big role to be on part of the group staff, and you have to be selected to come back. And obviously Colonel has to choose you to come back, and that has to obviously play a big role. And it's just something, like I said, we'll take on after I get out of high school.
You talk about mentorship. You see the young ones come in. I'm sure you think about that when you were young. Do you see yourself in a lot of these youngins that come in, and you try to help them, show them the way, because you've been down the path they're going?
Yes, sir, I actually do. Like I said, a lot of these cadets come in here and they don't know how to do anything, and that, like I said, it comes from a left flank, right flank, and it's honestly exciting to see them grow. One, as a person, but also two, as a cadet in this group, which will help later on down the years, especially if they come back at the 4th year.
Well, Daniel, congratulations and good luck in your future, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Good job.